Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live after a technical difficulty delay on my part, not Dutch's fault, definitely my fault. Uh, we are live on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for a new edition of Smack Talk. We're going to be reviewing AEW, Rampage, and WWE SmackDown as per usual. Well, we are joined by the legendary manager himself, Dutch Mantell. What's going on, Dutch?
Well, I used to be a legendary wrestler. Now I see you just skipped that. Now I'm just
Wrestler,
a legendary.
You're a living legend. You're a living legend.
Well, I call it a leg end. That's what I call it, a leg end. So, hey, we got a lot to talk about today. And we're not joined by Rick, who hogs the conversation so we can get our views out. So.
Exactly. We have time. I excuse anyone who's upset with us for starting a bit late. Like I said, technical difficulties on my part. And look at Dutch. He's looking very clear today. He seems like the internet is on point. We could see his beautiful mustache. Everything is looking good.
Good. Well, we got a lot to talk about, Mr. Sid. Why don't we just start at the top? And what's been going on today in big wrestling news. I heard about it, I don't know, I guess about 11 o'clock this morning. It's when I heard about it, and a friend contacted me and said, hey, did you hear the news? And I went, what news? And he says, man, Ric Flair is he's broke the internet. He's all over the internet. He's being ratioed. He's being canceled. He's being this. He's being that. And it all stems from the show that aired last night on Vice Network. And I used to work with these people, great people, Dark Side of the Ring. And I think this episode dealt with the flight from hell, or what do they call it?
The plane ride from hell from 2002. It was a chartered flight for WWE from the UK to the United States. A whole bunch of lawsuits came out of it. They had fights on the plane. There was drug use, alcohol, being drunk, Ric Flair exposing himself to flight attendants, sexual assault. It sounds like these are all the alleged things, the allegations that were put down. But yes, Ric Flair was at the center of this due to the testimonial of Heidi Doyle during the Dark Side of the Ring episode for season 3, where she basically made the allegations that Ric Flair exposed himself and came on to her, cornering her in one of the areas of the plane. RVD even saying that he saw that the flight attendant was crowded by him, and so it was a shocking and eye-opening episode. But I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on all the allegations that came out of it and the punishment coming out of it due to, one of the talking heads during the Dark Side of the Ring episode was Tommy Dreamer, who basically defended Ric Flair and kind of victim shamed Heidi Doyle for taking a settlement offer from the WWE and not taking legal action against Ric Flair. So what is your thoughts on Tommy Dreamer being suspended from Impact Wrestling due to his comments during the Dark Side of the Ring episode and all the allegations to guys like Ric Flair, Dustin Rhodes, Brock Lesnar?
Well, I'd heard about this, but I had some friends call me. They're fans, and they had never really heard the story. I think this story makes the world of professional wrestling look as low as it can possibly look. Now, granted, they sat on that runway for 7 hours before they took off. Then it was 7 hours in the air. So this is 14 hours of drinking alcohol. And these guys, they're tired. I know they're tired. But that doesn't forgive them, especially with the flight attendant situation. Now, for years, I have known that certain members of the wrestling community were like that. I'd heard stories about Ric Flair, and see, I never ran around with Ric Flair, never ran in his circles, because I always got, and nothing against Rick, believe me, but I always got a bad feeling when I'm around him. And after listening to this, and I had actually forgotten the plane ride from hell. I was on another one, wasn't as bad as this one, but I was on another one where we almost got arrested when we landed in London. And this was the trip where Sonny, she got that little present in her food. You remember that?
Yeah, I heard that story.
That was 95, maybe 96, I think. That's when it was. But these guys, sometimes they act like they're 16 years old. I don't know what happens to their heads. I don't know. But Ric Flair, he would drink all day long, and he would just get out of hand. And there's a bunch of stories about Flair just on planes, and just when it's full of guys, he would get naked and walk down the aisle, and I mean, just to me, that's disrespectful. Yeah. That's disrespectful. I would never do that, and I wouldn't want anybody do it to me. To me, it's not funny. To me, it's stupid. To me, it's disrespectful to the people that you're working with. But he did it for years, and what surprised me is more people didn't know about it, because, you know, wrestlers talk, but they may have kept that part quiet. And before I go any farther, let me say that Ric Flair wasn't the only one to behave badly back in those days. There was a lot of guys. I'm not going to bring any names up now, but they know who they are. And it was really a lot worse than what Flair did. If Flair had that woman pinned up in the galley back there, and she couldn't go anywhere, and did she say that Flair made her touch him?
Basically, he grabbed her hand and made an advance to touch his nature boy.
So what has happened to Ric Flair today after the internet heard this news was that he got canceled. What's actually does that mean? Just he got ratioed? Is that what they call it?
Well, basically, we've seen consequences for a number of people. Like I said, Tommy Dreamer getting suspended from Impact Wrestling for his comments defending Ric Flair. Ric Flair's Car Shield commercials have been pulled by the company, and a lot of people are speculating that this could halt the plans for Ric Flair to be signed by AEW and Tony Khan, because Tony Khan in the past has stayed away from controversial figures throughout professional wrestling, whether it be Tessa Blanchard. He's very adamant he will never work with Hulk Hogan or even have his wife Linda Hogan at one of his shows. So he kind of has a precedent of not kind of getting close to controversial figures. And Ric Flair had just been backstage at AEW over All Out weekend. So it's kind of crazy how that can change in a matter of 1 hour episode of Dark Side of the Ring.
Well, I have no sympathy toward Ric Flair. I have no sympathy at all, because this is behavior that he did over and over and over again to varying degrees. Now, I have never really been around him, but I've heard the rumors, and they've been around ever since I've known Ric Flair, that he did this and he did that, and he believed his own gimmick, it seems like, the nature boy and riding in the limousines. He believed that. And nothing's more dangerous than a wrestler actually believing his own gimmick. But he did, and he drew a lot of money. Don't take me wrong, but that's his professional life. In his private life, it wasn't so good. Now, talking about Tommy Dreamer, and like you said, Tommy Dreamer, I don't know what he was doing, but he was basically trying to cover for Flair and trying to make his activities seem like, well, it wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
But if you put your wife or your daughter or your sister or a cousin or anybody or a good friend in that in the place of the flight attendant, if you put it in a personal context, then you're really, really mad. Now, I'm kind of against cancel culture, even though this happened, 19 years ago or 18 years ago? But still, if you do that, you're still just as guilty just because time goes by doesn't absolve you of, of the crime. If you kill somebody 18 years ago, you're still guilty of killing them. I don't care how much time goes by. Now, the statute of limitations legally have probably expired. And what was the flight attendant's name?
The one that was on the Dark Side of the Ring episode was Heidi Doyle.
Heidi Doyle. So, and I'm looking at her. She's not over that yet.
No, because I did a review for my YouTube channel earlier today, and the one thing that I noticed that I took note of is that usually with Dark Side of the Ring, and you've been on the show before for the killing Bruiser Brody episode. I remember you kind of did and told your part of that story in one sitting. And most of the people that do Dark Side of the Ring, they do it in one sitting. If you notice the second half of her testimonial, she's in a completely different outfit. It's in a completely different area. It's on a completely different day. So I took that as it was too emotionally traumatizing for her to get through it in one seating. And that the fact that it took her all this time to come out and say this, it's because it's weighed on her all this time. And she had people around her. She talks about her husband and the job she was working for, wanting to keep it quiet, and her husband telling her to take the settlement. And that's why I've seen questions of people like, oh, I don't understand why she took the settlement money, and that was one of the things that Tommy Dreamer took. I was like, that makes total sense to me, because do you want to go through the embarrassment of having all that information told in front of a court of law and having WWE drag it out for years and financially drain you? Or do you just want to take the money and think that it will go away? But it really won't. The only person that has to carry that is you after you take the money. So I think that her testimonial came off 1000% genuine, and it really made me believe her. These are still allegations. Of course, you need the court of law to see who's right and who's wrong, innocent until proven guilty. But her genuineness in that whole testimonial really made me feel for her and understand what she went through.
Well, I'll have to say that I don't blame her for taking the money at all, because she would have to put her family through that, and she's still not over it.
Yeah.
And I don't think she'll ever get over it, even though it could have been a lot worse. But if she's that still torn up about it, like she seemed to be, I don't blame her. She wanted it to go away and have never happened, but that's not going to happen. So the best thing she could do is take the money and go. Now, the other thing was Tommy Dreamer, when they talked to him, I don't know what he was talking about. He was talking about like he's trying to, well, she should have went on and she should have done this, and maybe she shouldn't have. Well, he was just trying to smooth the way for Rick, but that's not happening either. Because I know Rick, I know these guys. They act like they're 16 years old sometimes, and they're drunk. And they're raising hell, and they're all. I've been on those flights. I was on a flight to London one time, me and Bradshaw, and I got in the corner of first class. I was like on the right side, on the back seat, in the corner. And Bradshaw said, "Why are you sitting here?" I said, "That's because nobody can get behind me. Because Savio Vega and Razor Ramon's on there." He shaved Savio's eyebrow. Savio got up and looked. Then he cut his hair. And then they started throwing food. I woke up, and there was a fork sticking in the ceiling and food everywhere. So when we got to London, we had armed, uniformed officers meet us. And we were told that we had to go to Munich. Had to go through London to Munich on British Airways. And they told us we weren't going British Airways because they had kicked us off the flight. So, of course, they had the calls going back between Stanford and the authorities in London. And they booked another airline. And we were told that one person out of line, you're fired. And I think Razor and Savio got fined $1,000 before they even got to London by Jerry Briscoe. He was the agent. So, but we went all through that. So when they're talking about on the plane and Flair doing that, I didn't doubt it at all. Even though, I mean, I've heard the story, and what surprises me again is with all the dirt sheets and the Meltzers and whoever they got, it surprises me that more people really didn't know that story.
Yeah.
Don't you think? But
yeah.
And what Dreamer got, he's working with Impact Wrestling, correct?
He was, yeah. He's just been suspended for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of let him go after his comments. I mean, he still hasn't came out and publicly addressed the episode as of yet, so it's gonna be very interesting. What's the fallout? Because I feel like this is a story that should have been known by more wrestling fans, but the outrage because we're in 2021 and these things aren't acceptable. Sexual assault has never been acceptable. No. It should have never been pushed aside the way it was. And the fact that, there were so many people that felt ramifications from this flight, but Ric Flair was one of the prominent ones involved. And, Jim Ross kind of said it the most honest way he possibly could. He was like, yeah, that's a good question why he didn't get any repercussions. And he said pretty much Ric Flair was a made man, so they couldn't touch him. So it kind of sounded like they were in the mob more than the wrestling business.
Well, another thing that amazed me is Vince was on the flight.
Yes.
And Linda too, right?
Yes.
Now, did they have a door from where they were sitting? They had to sit away from all the guys.
Yes.
So why didn't they know about it? Why it was going on? Do you think because the door was closed? Maybe.
I think they just ignored it, honestly, because what it sounded like from the testimonials of everybody is that Vince kind of he was like, put it on JR, like, you got to control what's going on back there. And I kind of said, like, this is a kind of a microcosm of a genuine problem in WWE, is that Vince never takes accountability for these things. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he did hear the things going on or found out about it even when he was on the plane and he just was like, JR, go take care of it, instead of him. I think it would have meant more if he would have went back there and said something and tried to, calm the situation down instead of sending a secondary management person.
Well, have you ever been around a bunch of wrestlers when they get really, really drunk?
I have been. Yes.
They're nuts. They're looking for a problem. They're looking for a problem basically with each other, instead of just regular fans. But if a fan comes up and sticks his head in it, of course, now they all join together in a solid block, and the guy could end up getting the hell beat out of him or whatever. And Michael Hayes, I love him to death, but he has a drinking problem and always has. And when he went back there and slapped JBL, which I wouldn't suggest would be a good move for your health. And JBL's a big boy, and he got up and he said he knocked him out. I never heard that. And then who cut his hair?
Michael Sean Watman, X-Pac, yeah.
I mean, there are some funny stories, but with the flight attendant, not funny at all. Ric Flair does not have my sympathy. Tommy Dreamer does not have my sympathy. And I think Dreamer meant to say something else. I don't think he realized what he was saying and how he was coming off. I don't know why he didn't just, it was recorded. I don't know why he didn't stop the tape. So let me answer that again. And I don't know why Dark Side of the Ring didn't say, hey, you might want to answer that a little bit differently, because this hasn't been done that long ago.
Yeah.
Probably 2 months ago, probably is when they did it.
Yeah, it's not a good look. But I believe with the Dark Side of the Ring producers, they want to keep everything genuine, and this is how you're kind of saying things. But yeah, I mean, how the edit was with Tommy Dreamer's testimony being right next to Heidi Doyle's, it just made it look terrible on his part, and just a lack of judgment and foresight in a lot of his comments during this whole whole ordeal. We got a super chat donation here from Ozzy saying Rick is the Silver Surfer man. Now go Bengals. He's missing Rick on this edition. We also got Red Jew saying I want to pay Dutch for the second plane ride from hell story. So you're already getting in the big dough. You're drawing the big dough. So yes, you're super.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write my third book, and this will be a long chapter in it, because what I have sometimes is when I start writing, I have diarrhea of the keyboard. So there's no details left out. I put them all in. I've been on these flights, and I can tell you what happened on that flight. I mean, I wasn't there, but I know exactly what happened, and it went on. And a lot of guys that you don't hear a lot of names, but they were all asleep. But see, Flair doesn't sleep. He's a vampire. Because he stays up all night and he parties. I don't know how he went these 60-minute time limit draws and drank and traveled and like he did. He's superhuman. But anyway, it happened, and I hate it for Dreamer, because I think Dreamer's a pretty good guy. I think he didn't realize what he was saying. But I'm going to predict now, I don't think Flair is going to AEW.
I think that's a safe bet now at this point with everything.
I think all the girls in AEW would pitch a bitch. They say you can't bring the guy in after he was convicted on the show last night.
Yeah.
By people seeing him in the back. Didn't Dustin Rhodes help that lady out?
Yeah.
Well, God bless him.
Yes. And that's why Heidi said that she was a little bit more forgiving for his horrible karaoke on the PA system on the plane to Terry Runnels. So, yes, put your comments. Let us know if you're watching us live in the live chat what you thought about the Dark Side of the Ring episode and what Dutch had to say about that. We'll try to answer any of your questions at the end. We got to go through 2 shows, 3 hours of professional wrestling on this night. Since we already talked about AEW, I think it'll be cool if we could just go through the Rampage episode that just finished out. What was your thoughts on Rampage this week before we go through the different segments on the night?
Well, you know how my internet is, so I lost a little bit of it, but it was halfway through the show. Yeah. I like this about AEW. They open with the match, and they get right into it. Now they can tell all this stuff that's coming up during the course of that match. Now I'm gonna still bitch and moan and complain about how many commentators they have. They have too many, and they're trying to promote all these dates or whatever. Most of it is lost because they're going through it so fast. I mean, I respect them trying to do it, and the show wasn't bad, but I'll get back to Raw in a minute, but there was who did Rusev Miro? Who did he work with? What's his name?
He faced Fuego del Sol.
Yeah, what a size difference!
Indeed.
I mean, Del Sol can't weigh 160, can he?
Probably barely. I've done an interview with him, and he's very undersized individual for sure. And yeah, that was a big size difference. That was the main event of the night. Let's go to the beginning of Rampage, which had a AEW World Tag Team title match with the Lucha Brothers defending the titles for the first time against the Butcher and the Blade, the number 1 ranked Butcher and the Blade. These 4 guys were in Eddie Kingston's family last year before that group broke up, so they knew each other very well, and we kind of saw that in the matchup with them cutting off a bunch of their different moves. The finish I thought was absolutely brilliant. They tied up Pentagon's mask in the ropes and looked to finish off Phoenix with their finisher, but Pentagon gets his mask off, he hides his face, delivers a super kick to the Blade, and Phoenix rolls up the Butcher for the 1-2-3 to get the victory here. I thought the match was all action. It was just under 10 minutes, and it never slowed down. And I know you said before you really liked the Lucha Bros, and they kind of showed off their tag team expertise in this one. After the match, the HFO, Private Party, and Matt Hardy attacked the Lucha Bros after the match, and it was Santana and Ortiz who came out to make the save to set up Santana and Ortiz and the Lucha Bros teaming up next week on AEW Rampage Grand Slam, which is going to be 2 hours on a Friday night at 10 p.m. They're going to be versing Private Party, the Butcher, and the Blade in an 8-man tag.
It's 2 hours next week?
It's 2 hours next week. I'll be there live on Wednesday. Wednesday, they're filming both Rampage and Dynamite, so I'll be there live to watch it all. But yes, next Friday, it's 2 hours. It's from 10 to 12 a.m.
Wow. So anyway, that's a lot of work for next week. But I do like a lot of stuff that AEW does. And that Bunny girl, she's with Butcher and the Blade, right?
Yes.
But why wasn't she around the match during the match? Why wasn't she around the ring?
Because she had a match following this one against Anna Jay, which was the second match of the night. So I think that was why they didn't have her around the ring. Instead, they had Matt Hardy and I believe Jack Evans, seconding the Butcher and the Blade. What did you think about the tag team match with the for the AEW tag team titles?
And who was in that? It's all running together because part of it is
the Butcher and the Blade versus the Lucha Brothers.
Oh, I like the Lucha Brothers. I really do. I mean, they make any team they work with look better than they actually are because these guys, they move well. They're fluid. They can almost do anything. And, Butcher and Blade, they're kind of limited to what they can do because that Butcher's a big guy. He's a really big guy, but the match was good. I'm not saying anything about it. The finish was good. I like that. And, of course, I can put up with the run-ins, but at least they give them a finish. I don't like DQ finishes. And I mean, just give them a finish. They gave them a finish. Then they threw all the other elements in, which at least now they have some sort of a base that they can use for future bookings against each other. They can use that. Who is the guy with? See, I'm learning AEW right now, along with a lot of other people. I'm learning them. Who is the guy with the Lucha Brothers? Who is he?
That's Alex Abrahantes. He's basically like their translator. He used to be I think he still is one of their Spanish commentators, but he also works as their manager and their translator.
So they don't speak English.
No, they're fluid. I think Ray Phoenix speaks a little bit of English, but Pentagon is mostly just Spanish.
Ray Phoenix?
Yeah.
I came up with that name.
You did?
20 years ago. Puerto Rico. I put one of the top baby faces. It's a long story. But we called him Ray in Spanish means king.
Yes.
And Phoenix means you rise from the ashes, I guess. And it's spelled with an F in Spanish, I think. And I called him Ray Phoenix. And then when I heard the name Ray Phoenix, I went, wait a minute, that's my name. They took it. I mean, it's a common name, I guess. I don't know. But I do like the name. What's the other guy called?
Penta El Zero Mero.
Pinto what?
Penta El Zero Mero.
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah. I know just enough Spanish to get the dog crap beat out of me. So anyway, but they had a good match. And the second match was the Bunny. Her name used to be Allie, correct?
Yes.
In and Impact.
Impact, yep.
Yeah. So I was there on the creative team when she was there. But I like that girl. She loves wrestling, and she'll do anything to advance herself. And she works well. And I like the babyface team in this. It was what's her name, Tay or Kay or
It was the second match was Anna Jay versus the Bunny, and Anna Jay had Tay Conti in her corner while the Bunny had Penelope Ford. Yeah, I like the rivalry that they're building between the all four ladies. They're kind of going through all the singles matches and the single combination before we eventually get the tag team match. But you can kind of tell that Anna Jay and Tay Conti are actually real friends from how they interact with each other. So I like that little combination. This was a pretty good tag team matchup with pretty good singles matchup with Anna Jay getting the victory. This was her first singles contest since returning from a shoulder injury. So what did you think about the match overall?
no, match was okay. Nothing wrong with the match. I appreciate the fact that they worked hard, and see, being fluid in the ring, that takes a lot of work. But working hard, you just got to dig for it. So I think everybody in that match, even the outside managers, they worked hard. Now, who was one of the Hardy Boys? Who was he with tonight?
He was with Jack Evans, who's of the tag team TH2.
Okay. I never met that guy.
No?
I got sued one time because of his testimony.
Really?
And I never met him. I never.
What was it for? What was the lawsuit?
It was Conan. We were working in TNA, and Conan got mad at him, and it was some racial stuff.
Yeah.
And he sued them, and he sued Jeff Jarrett, and he sued Dixie Carter, and he sued me, and he sued Terry Taylor. They said that I was walking around there and I was taking pills and all this stuff and selling him like pain pills. So, did I have pain pills? Yes, because I've been beat up all these years. I didn't take them. Did I sell him any? No. Did I give him any? Not no, but hell no, because I needed them. So, but anyway, he went and told them this, and they just put my name on it. So, and he apologized later after he settled it or whatever. He got some money out of it, I think. But he said, hey man, I hate to bring you in on that lawsuit. I said, man, I went F you, Conan, and I just walked away. I mean, there's nothing to say to him. If somebody's going to sue you when you do nothing wrong, then you can't trust them.
Yeah.
And I have never trusted Conan since that day. I'm not mad at him, but I wish he hadn't have done it because it was a lie, and he knows it's a lie. So they talked one time. Let's say I did sell him one pill, but I'm not going to sell him a pill. What are you going to sell a pill for? What, $10? I mean, I was making money then. I didn't need $10. But they tried to invoke, listen to this, the racketeering clause on me. Wait a minute, I thought they used this for like the mafia.
Yeah.
And I said, wait a minute, you're going to hit me up with the racketeering law or whatever? I went, these people are crazy. I remember I was doing a deposition and the guy asked me, have you ever did anabolic steroids? And I looked at myself. I says, do I look like I'm taking anabolic steroids? Well, back then, did you take them? I said, well, let me tell you this. I says, yes, probably about 20 some odd years ago, I probably did take anabolic steroids, but like the first generation. But then I made a joke and I says, but nobody told me you're supposed to work out with it too. I said, I just got fat.
Just kept taking it.
Yeah. And the guy threw his pen up in there and he said, man, that's just too funny. I can't even, I got to write that down. So.
Can't even sue you. We got a correction here in the live chat. Greg Backlund saying the Rampage is on at the same time as SmackDown from what I've seen. That's incorrect. The AEW promoted it very well that they're starting at 10 p.m. They're starting at 10 p.m. after SmackDown and they're going 2 hours. So it won't conflict with SmackDown at all. We also got in the live chat here Steven saying like the Lucha Bros Butcher and the Blade match, and like to see Lucha versus Santana and Ortiz. They had a great series of matches in Impact Wrestling. Even Impact posted on their social media one of their past matches, and I guarantee they are going to deliver whenever they have their match for AEW for sure. We also, between the two matches that we just talked about, we had a short video package with comments from Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson building up their huge dream match on Wednesday. Omega called Danielson the underdog and pointed out that he was unranked and doesn't think Bryan's underdog story will have a happy ending this time. Bryan Danielson says that he's ready to show everyone the real Bryan Danielson, which will be fun for fans and scary as hell for the wrestlers. And it was just a quick minute video package to kind of build up their dream match here. What do you think about AEW giving this match away as Bryan's first match in AEW on Wednesday?
Well, what they're trying to do, they're trying to build an audience. To build an audience, you got to attract viewers. To attract viewers, you have to give them something that's going to attract them.
Yeah.
What I would do, I would give them like 3/4 of the show. Is what I would give them. And then, you could have comments during the match, and because I think they can carry 40 minutes easy, at least 30. So, but I think them giving it away, because they'll have a tremendous match, because everybody expects that, and every fan that's watched Bryan, and every fan that's watched Kenny, they know what they're going to deliver. So it's like you putting two masters out there, and Kenny Omega was proclaimed #1 wrestler in the world in the PWI 500, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So, second time.
So he was #1 before last year.
He was #1 in 2018 when he was a part of New Japan, and then he's #1 this past year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't trust PWI, first of all, because I think it's very ripe for extortion. So, but I made 263 one time in the world, which is pretty good. And I think the year before, maybe 2 years before, I was like 175 or something, which was actually pretty good in the world. I thought, but I see nothing wrong with them offering it. I think because there's so many different packages between these two that they can deliver. Then you talk about the no time limit or this, that, and all the the gimmick matches they can do. I don't think they lose anything with it.
That's why I think that the best outcome for this match, and I don't necessarily think this all the time, is a draw, because they don't do it too often, but they do, because it's a non-title match. That means they don't have the 60 minutes. So usually their non-title matches in AEW are like a 20 to 30 minute time limit, and those are the two guys that can deliver a fantastic 20-minute match and let it go to a draw. And then you still have the question of the feud is who is the best in the world, and then you can continue that and continue the feud up until the next pay-per-view and build it up as a big time title match. Then
also they do the picture-in-picture, and they could go through they need to put a clock there and put it at 30 minutes, and then, like you say, let them go Broadway on it. And they'd have such a great match, and then then you don't hurt anybody.
Yeah. I think I lost Dutch here. We will wait for Dutch to return. He might have pressed a button accidentally. I'll go through a couple of your comments here. Ozzy, yes, that's why I'm telling Dutch now about next Friday, and that we're going 2 hours, that we probably have to push back our start time to 12 a.m. or maybe we'll start it up a little bit later. For everyone who likes to watch Smack Talk on Facebook, because of the technical difficulty delay, I believe the Facebook stream didn't start up. I think it deleted the broadcast, but once this is done on YouTube and Twitter, we will put it up on Facebook as well. Don't you guys worry. We also got Dale saying, I think Flair is becoming the new Hulk Hogan. Wow, that is quite
What's
the
that?
statement.
What's that
We
mean?
I think, well, Hulk Hogan is a person that has a lot of controversy towards him due to his comments from a couple of years back when he was talking about people dating his daughter and dropping the N-bomb a couple of times. So I think that the scandal with Flair, that's what he's comparing it to. It's two totally different things, in my opinion. Sexual assault and racism, although both are pretty horrible, I think it's two different things that I can't put them on the same level, but I can understand where you're coming from. But let's get back to AEW Rampage. After the Anna Jay victory over the Bunny, we had a post-match beatdown where Penelope Ford and the Bunny attacked Anna Jay and Tay Conti, and Penelope Ford knocked out Tay Conti with brass knuckles. So, like we said before, continuing that tag team feud there. And then after the match, we saw clips of Powerhouse Hobbs attacking CM Punk on Wednesday, and Hobbs and Team Taz made comments after the attack, and Hobbs thinks that Punk should have stayed retired for 7 more years. So what do you think of Dutch? Not only do we get Danielson and Omega on Wednesday on AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, but Friday with us on Rampage Grand Slam, we get CM Punk's first television match in 7 years against Powerhouse Hobbs. What did you think of Hobbs here? Was this your first time seeing him? And what do you think about the match with Punk next week?
I've seen him before, and I like him. And I think the match is CM Punk. I think. Okay, is this the same show they're going to put Brian and?
No, Brian. Well, for us live, I'm gonna be there in New York on Wednesday. So they're filming both Dynamite and Rampage on Wednesday, but the Rampage part is gonna air on Friday. So Friday is gonna be Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. We're also going to get Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, your former client there, against Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in a tag team match. You're going to see Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. You got Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford, and they're going to do John Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer in a lights out match.
And that's on the 2-hour show.
Yeah, the 2-hour Rampage next week.
Man, they stacked that.
Yeah.
That's a stacked card.
Yep. And I didn't even mention the Lucha Bros, Santana and Ortiz versus Private Party, The Butcher and the Blade, also next Friday.
That's a hell of a lineup for TV. That's a hell of a lineup. So, but the only thing that's going to work against them is the time.
Yeah.
Because but it's on a Friday, so it may not matter, but it may matter. I don't know. But they've been doing well with Rampage, right?
Yeah, they been doing higher. I think we were talking about like Rampage doing about like 500 to 600,000, and they've been well above that. They've averaged about 700 to 750,000 viewers each week. Last week was their lowest rated with I think they did about 670,000, but still it's much higher than I thought it would do originally, and a lot of that is down to CM Punk's debut happening on that second edition of Rampage.
On the Wednesday night show, what are they doing there?
They're doing Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. They're doing Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes, Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR, MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr., and I believe I'm missing one more match, but that's another stacked, ridiculous card.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
at least there's a reason for these matches.
Yeah, they've built up all these matches very well. And the other match that I forgot we're going to get to is Ruby Soho versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, for the AEW Women's World Championship. Let's talk about that promo segment, because I felt the matches were pretty good to decent on this show, but this was the highlight of the show for me, Dutch. Mm-hmm. These ladies went out there and cut 2 money promos, some great lines back and forth from the both ladies. Baker telling Ruby, "Welcome to some TV time, Ruby," saying Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, everybody knows my name. And then Ruby saying that she's basically like everybody else she's always faced, entitled, cocky, and banging some dude in the back, which I thought was a great line. Got a huge pop from the Jersey crowd. Baker came back at Ruby saying that she didn't run away from anything. She got fired. And that's but Ruby kind of took that and turned it back on Baker, saying that that's the best thing that's ever happened to her. But Baker can't see that because Britt's head is so far up Tony Khan's ass, and saying that she can have all these nicknames, but the one thing that they can't call her after Wednesday is AEW Women's World Champion. I thought that this was a excellent promo exchange. Both ladies came out well. Britt Baker has become one of the best mic workers in AEW, but Ruby Soho really stepped up their game and showed that she had promo chops. What did you think, Dutch?
Well, I saw part of it. That's when my internet was popping in and out. But that Britt Baker is very good on the horn.
Yeah,
very good. And you listen to her, and she makes what makes a good heel is you make actually good points that may have some validity to them, but they're kind of cutting and they're kind of trying to get under the skin. But the baby face Soho, she has to come back with the same intensity and make the same point back. And according to you, they did. That's what made it so well. And they didn't stutter around. They didn't, you got something to say it. And according to you, you liked it, so it worked. And how many interviews have you? And the reason I'm using you is how many interviews have you ever heard? Thousands.
Yes,
Thousands.
Probably a million or so.
and if this one stood out, then it has some value. It works. If it worked on you, it worked on a casual fan, and that's when you get your sellouts. Is when you get the casual fan to either come to the show or take a pay-per-view or tune into a TV show. So I think next week, I don't think Tony Khan could have booked any stronger card than he booked.
100%.
So is he doing? Who is helping him? Anybody?
It's more of a collective thing as far as like I know that the Young Bucks do a couple of like stories and helping out with the tag team division. Kenny Omega, helps out with the women's division, and those guys do their own stuff, come up with a bunch of their own ideas for their work, and a lot of the other performers that they have confidence in, like Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, come up with a lot of their stuff. But the final say is all Tony Khan.
Yeah, you know what I noticed about the AEW show too?
Yeah.
The guys look more relaxed.
That is true.
They don't look like they got a bunch of pressure on them, and because in WWE they'd write all this stuff out. And and if you don't have a great memory, like I've been hit on the head a couple 100,000 times. So if they want me to memorize this, I can memorize it. But I went out there one time, and I'm doing it, me and Jack, and I forgot where we were. And that's mostly wrestlers will tell you they don't know where they were, because you go to Paris, you go to London, you go to Munich, you go to Frisco, New York, but you don't see anything. You see the airport and a taxi or somebody to take you to the building. Then you see the building, then you go back to the airport, a hotel, and you go to the airport. You don't see any of the town, basically. I've been all over the world, and I've seen basically nothing. So, and I was doing an interview one night in the way to the ring, and I got about a third of the way through it, and I stopped, and I went, I've forgotten this son of a bitch. And I told Jack, I said, Jack, I forgot the mic was down here. And he went, he's supposed to say, I said, oh, I got it now. Then I turned around, and I remembered it then, and I kept going. But sometimes they give me that stuff, and I don't know. Good stuff. But here I can tell, because the interviews is in the character of the talent. And I think the character of the talent, they know more what to do with it than somebody who writes it out. See, Vince wants things written out. And I can kind of see that because he can have it right in front of him and seeing what you're saying or close to it. He don't want you to do word for word. I don't think anybody does that. But you got to get close to what the writer wants you to say. Yeah. And I never had any faith in the writers. I mean, they're good guys. And I may have told this story before. One guy was a reporter for the damn Acme Press Daily Journal or whatever. But I said, you're not a wrestling writer. I don't know if you're even a journalist. I don't know. I said, if you're just going to write a bunch of stuff down, why don't you come in here and we'll write it right before you. And they got to take it right to Vince before you go out there. Vince has to approve it or you don't say it. That to me is micromanaging. I think Vince would probably enjoy his own show more if he didn't know everything that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it would probably be more entertaining to him. And then he could offer more of a critique to it. And how bad can some guy just mess up a promo if you just tell him, say this, 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 and this? I mean, they're not stupid, but I don't know. But the guys in AEW and the girl, Britt Baker, if you listen to them, you can tell they're relaxed and they're getting their point across. And it's kind of the way they wanted to go with it, which at this point is working.
It's working very well for them, and that was a great segment. Like I said, the highlight of this episode of Rampage for me. Before that segment, you had Tony Schiavone interviewing Matt Hardy, who talking about him going 0-2 with the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny taking losses on the show. He took offense to an Orange Cassidy lookalike at ringside. Him and Jack Evans attacked the fan and drug him into the ring and shaved the side of his head after giving him a twist of fate, and then Orange Cassidy came out for the save, continuing the build up to the hair versus hair match with Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy. And then finally you had the firstly promo segment with whose
idea the hair deal was.
Whose idea was that?
I think it was Matt
Hardy.
That sounds it looks like some of what he would come up with, but it was effective. It was.
Do you think Matt's going to get his head shaved?
Probably. Matt, he don't care. Matt don't care. Get his head shaved. He might want a haircut anyway. Who knows? But that was an entertaining segment, really, because you don't ever see that. Some Orange Cassidy Stan out here or whatever he said, and then when he pulled it, you could look at the guy and know he's like a setup, but it didn't matter. He's telling the story. But when they cut his hair, and then Orange Cassidy came in, I just caught the tail end of that one. But it was good. So that would make my interest in it go up a little bit.
Yes, I'm wondering when they're going to pull the trigger on that matchup. It's probably not going to be next week, but maybe the week after, so they have something for the follow-up to Grand Slam. We had our promo segment before the main event with Fuego del Sol and Miro. I thought Miro had a great line during this, saying that he's going to celebrate his victory with his God up top and his wife down low. I thought that was a great line by Miro. I love the way he just puts in his wife in different parts of his promo. They ran down the card for Dynamite Grand Slam as well as Rampage Grand Slam. And then we had Fuego del Sol putting his new car on the line against Miro for the TNT Championship. This was basically a more extended squash from what we saw on the first episode of Dynamite, where Miro survived the tornado DDTs and then beat Fuego del Sol. But this one, it was more like Miro was kind of playing with his food, still upset that Fuego del Sol got a contract even though he beat him last time. So he beat him up all around ringside. A great spot where he flipped him into the crowd and the fans caught him and put Fuego on the guardrail, where he did try to do a crossbody, but Miro caught him again and then gave him a fall-away slam on the outside. He beat him up through the commercial break, and then Fuego made a comeback, hitting a couple of short DDTs, looking for the tornado DDT DDT, but Miro cut him off, beat him down, hit 2 Mashika kicks, the last one to the back of the head to get the victory. After the match, he took the keys to the car and shoved it down Fiego's mouth and then put him in the game over. But it was Sammy Guevara, Fiego del Sol's best friend, coming out to make the save, and it seemed like we're setting up Sammy Guevara versus Miro. So what did you think about the match and the post-match here, Dutch?
Well, I liked it. I do think Miro, I think the size difference for me was a little too much. And the announcer said he's playing with his, like with his prey. But I think he kind of, in some spots, he kind of oversold him. But it's wrestling. So sometimes, what's my saying? Don't overthink it. So
yes.
we'll look at the ratings, and if the ratings do good, see, my opinion means nothing. See, because the fans, they'll set the marketplace. If they like it, they're going to tune in. But I will say that the show is a lot better than what I thought it'd be. But you got to look at it that all these ex-WWE guys are coming in, and I don't know, because if it's all ex-WWE guys, they can still have a great show.
Yeah.
It would just show you what they could do in WWE if they let them go a little bit. But I don't think Vince trusts talent. I mean, he will probably let top talent kind of say what they want to say, but he doesn't trust the underneath, brand, because there's no telling what they'll say. So, but I never liked the micromanaging when I was there. I dealt with it because I had no choice. So you deal with it and try to get through it the best you can. So, but Miro's match was, for what it was intended to be, was good. And I have a little problem with when he says, "When my God." I mean, he could be talking about the Christian God. He could be talking about the Muslim God, talking about the Hindu God. I've always tried not to bring religion into any of my interviews because it's such a touchy subject. But if he didn't say any more than that, I think he's fine, because he leaves it to whatever you believe it to be. So, and he's not responsible for he's responsible for what he says, but he's not responsible for what you hear.
Yes.
Because then you leave it up to the fans to put their own definition to what he's saying. But it does make you think, because very seldom do you hear anything like that in a wrestling interview.
It's kind of like he's using what, like, a lot of MMA fighters. If you notice, a lot of MMA fighters after their fights always talk about, God helped me win the match, and God did this for me and that. And he's a heel doing it, because it's mostly the babyface MMA fighters who, like, you talk about God helping them to the victory. But here it's a heel doing it. So I think you're totally right. He's leaving it up to your imagination if he's talking about, the God that most of us believe in, or individual gods. What type of God is he talking about? He kind of leaves it to your imagination.
Sure does. But tonight, Rampage, good show.
Definitely. And SmackDown, they had their follow-up from
how much money have I been made so far? No more? Come on, people. Come on.
Yeah. We see a bunch of comments, but you gotta send in the super chat money. That's how we highlight your comment. That super chat money, it helps Dutch get a new computer, some better Wi-Fi.
It did do that.
We want to help out Dutch. Dutch is looking clear this week because you've been helping us out with that super chat money. So help us out. Send a super chat, $1 or more donation. We'll definitely highlight your comments here. So we started off SmackDown with firstly highlights from last week with Seth Rollins giving the curb stomp to Edge, and we found out we were going to get Seth Rollins comments after that big incident. And then we had Roman Reigns, the Usos, Paul Heyman, the Bloodline coming out out to kick off the show. And Roman gave the stage to the wise man, Paul Heyman, who also saw a recap of Brock Lesnar's return last week, as well as the Demon Finn Balor approaching Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns has two big matchups coming up. He's going to verse the Demon Finn Balor at Extreme Rules for the Universal Championship, and he's also going to verse Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia on October 21st at Crown Jewel for the Universal Championship if he successfully defends against Finn Balor at Extreme Rules. So Heyman.
Okay, it's Roman Reigns versus who in Saudi Arabia?
Brock Lesnar. Yep.
And it's Finn Balor versus
Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules, which is a week from Sunday.
Okay. I thought they tipped their hand by announcing that. I said, doesn't that kind of mean that he's going to retain against the Demon so he can go to Saudi Arabia? And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
how much money do they get for that Saudi Arabia show?
They make more money off the Saudi Arabia shows than they do for WrestleMania. Before they even sell a ticket, they make more money for the Saudi Arabia shows.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, they do. I think their deal is, I think they get maybe $20-40 million for each show.
I heard 25 million.
Yeah, 25 million for each show.
But a WrestleMania, well, I don't know with the new network. You get it with the network now, right?
Yes.
Well, maybe that is it.
Yes.
So, well, more power to them. If they can get it. Get exactly. It while it's good.
Exactly.
But this is another thing. When they were talking, when Roman Reigns was in the ring, and in comes Big E, which, by the way, congratulations, Big E, on getting that title.
Yes.
And so they're about ready to talk. They may not have said anything. And here comes Finn Balor. And then we go back, and then it's Finn Balor and Big E against the Usos. How'd that happen? Did they announce that before?
No, they totally did not announce it. They totally did not hype it up. Roman had he asked Knoxville to acknowledge him. Paul Heyman talked about why they should acknowledge him, talking about Brock Lesnar fearing him, Finn Balor fearing him. That's why he's brought back the Demon, and that led to Big E coming out, who got a huge pop from that Knoxville crowd. And like you said, then Finn Balor came out, and then we went to commercial, and then we come back, and it infuriated me, Dutch, on this one. A tag team championship contenders match. Why the hell is the number one contender for the Universal Championship and the WWE Champion having a tag team championship contenders match? Why can't it just be a tag team match with the Usos? Why is it a tag team championship contenders match? Can they have non-title matches without this stupid title to it?
I don't think anybody can explain that. Plus, Roman Reigns just disappeared.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the center of the whole deal. And we come back, he's gone, Heyman's gone, and I think it kind of made him look a little inferior. And then they have this contenders match, which makes no sense at all. And I think most people caught that. I mean, why would they get a match? I mean, if they win, they get a title shot. I don't get it. Just have a match. I don't think it makes a difference.
No,
does it?
It doesn't, because we've seen multiple times with the championship contenders match, people can get 3-4 victories in a row and never get a title shot. Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart defeated Natalya and Tamina like 3 straight weeks, and they still haven't got a women's tag team title shot. So having a championship contenders match is the most useless prop that WWE is using right now, but they continue to keep using it. And here, it was a good match. That's the only negative or nitpick that I can give on the match, because this was a lot of fun. You got Big E and his big moment after his first match since becoming the WWE champion, and this had a really cool finish with Big E hitting the big ending on Jimmy Uso while Finn Balor hit the coup de grace and he got the victory, pinning the Usos here. So yeah, Big E and Finn Balor get the victory here, but yeah, calling it a championship contenders match just made absolutely no sense. But what did you think about the match overall?
Oh, the match was good. That was the only way the match could end, really. But what I thought they were going to do, here comes Big E, and then here comes Finn. I said, no, wait a minute. Now it's going to be a three-way. That's what I actually thought. And then they make it a tag, and I was just all confused. I said, well, but they had a good match, and the Usos picked up what heat they left because they attacked Big E in the back during a promo, and they beat the crap out of him, which is so they are confusing me on some of these things you think's going to end. So
yeah, they did a lot of setting up because they're still trying to build up to the 2 title matches for Roman Reigns, but they wanted to build something for this coming Monday on Raw. So first we saw after this tag team match, we had Roman Reigns in his locker room. Reigns wasn't happy that his cousins didn't win, and he said he wanted an explanation for why Brock Lesnar claimed Heyman knew that he'd be at SummerSlam. Heyman believes Lesnar fears Reigns, so that's why he made up the lie. And then Reigns then asked if Lesnar would be at Extreme Rules, and Heyman quickly said no, and Reigns wondered how Heyman knows that. Yeah, how Heyman knows he won't be there, and Heyman just assumed, and Reigns told him it's his job to find out and not assume. Later on in the night, we had another segment with Paul Heyman in the backstage area, and Kayla Braxton once again hounding him in the backstage area, getting under his skin. Heyman overreacts. He turns around, and it's Big E behind him. He congratulates him for becoming the WWE Champion and saying that he made the smart move and not going after Roman Reigns. And Big E teased that he's going to be versing Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. So that's yet a third match for Roman Reigns they're promoting. And he also talks about that, maybe Brock Lesnar will be the person he versus at Survivor Series, or maybe Finn Balor will blow up Heyman's plan, because Big E kind of alluded that Heyman's plan is to have this Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match, and whoever wins, Heyman's just gonna go with. So I love the little subtle things that Big E put in his promo here. And then, like you said, the Usos jumped him, and this sets up on Monday the Usos and Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, versus the New Day of WWE Champion Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. And a lot of people will say that this is because of Monday Night Football just coming back and getting 22 million last week, with Raw ratings dropping, even though they had the big title change with Big E. And also there'll be some fans that say this is because of AEW Dynamite beating Monday Night Raw for the second week in a row in the 18-49 key demo. So what do you think about the Bloodline versus New Day on Raw this week, Dutch?
Well, the ship is still out on that. I have no idea what it will do. I don't know if it'll go up. I don't know. I don't think it'll go. I don't think it'll go down. Monday Night Football is a hell of a commodity to go up against.
Indeed.
Because, and then you're in the the pandemic era still, and people are dying to get out. They're dying to do something. So, and wrestling has been there the whole time. Football really hasn't. So, and I think people are going to watch football on Monday night. But Raw should have expected this because they go through it every year. So it's a good setup, and I think they're trying to put their best foot forward. But I think they're still making a lot of mistakes. Not on SmackDown. I think Raw is making it. It's what I think they're doing. But setting it up, let's just see what it'll do. Because like I said earlier in the show, I don't set the market. The fans do. That's the marketplace. And they'll tell you everything you need to know when you look at those numbers.
Yes, I just hope that they have a long-term plan for Big E, because I think that he's someone that truly deserves this opportunity to be the WWE Champion. Did you see Raw live to see Big E win the title, or like what was your initial reaction to hearing that he won?
Well, he advertised he's going to be at Raw.
Yep.
And he could have possibly cashed it in. But I think the internet went nuts when he did it. Because I think they reacted more because Big E is somebody they saw start as a greenhorn. And he started with Dolph Ziggler, right?
Yes.
Didn't he start with Dolph? And then he had a little flirtatious thing with CM Punk's wife.
AJ Lee, yep.
I think he had a little bit with her. But people kind of like him. Because what I like about him is his father's a pastor, correct?
Yes.
And sometimes when he goes into preaching mode, oh, I love that. He starts preaching and he's good at it, to tell you the truth. So I think he's the type of guy that you just can't hot shot. Because if you hot shot him, you do more damage than you do good. So again, we'll see what it does. Okay, they were in Knoxville. You ever been to Knoxville?
No, I've never been to Knoxville.
Great town. This is what I wish they'd have thought of. People love the University of Tennessee football. They love the Volunteers. Rick Boogs, or Boobs, or whatever his name is, when he came out there, he needed to say, we're going to change our song up just a little bit tonight, Knoxville. You might like it. And have him play Rocky Top. That roof would have come off that building. And I know it's not, Nakamura's song, but you kind of, they changed a lot of things just because of Knoxville. At the end, I'm getting ahead of myself. They had Kane come out. He's the mayor of Knox County. And then she talked about her Tennessee roots and her University of Tennessee athletic career. And it was good. It was a good show. And they've always loved wrestling there. I used to go there on a Friday night, and it was an outdoor arena that would probably seat, 1,500 people. And it'd be packed. And you'd go out there and you'd wrestle under the stars. Of course, it was lit up like a little bit of a baseball stadium, and a great place to wrestle. Because the fans, if they didn't know the story, they'd make a story up. Because, they were under the impression more in those days that wrestling was legit, even though they still had the stigma, don't worry about it, it's fake, but they still loved it. And I've been on a lot of sellouts in Knoxville, even in the later years, because you tell them a story and they'll respond. And then you go to the little towns around Knoxville. Ron Fuller got rich there. He went there and he bought in, and I used to hear about Knoxville. They were making more money in Knoxville than the guys were making in Florida or Atlanta.
Wow. And
every trip was no more than 100 miles. No more. They were back home every night at 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's like working a second shift job and a part-time, and then you come in. But if he'd have played that song Rocky Top, it would have come off. So
yeah. Boogs did play Nakamura's theme, and he versed Robert Roode. This was a nothing match in my opinion. It was 2 minutes.
Wasn't it the same thing last week?
I think it was. I think they had the 10-man tag last week, so they skipped a week, but it was pretty much what we saw 2 weeks ago when it was Dolph versus Boogs, and this time it was Robert Roode. Boogs got the victory. I feel like this is not a good use of Nakamura. I feel like they've given him the King Crown, given him the Intercontinental title, and he's in a tag team with Boogs, it seems, and they were attacked by Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz to set up Apollo Crews versus Nakamura next week.
Very good. Because I wonder where Aziz is turning in to be a good heel.
Yeah.
Because the way he come in, you didn't expect them to come in. And when they come in, they laid them out. And then Apollo's a pretty good interview. And Aziz is a big, intimidating looking guy. I like that. That really helped the whole segment. That was the segment. The match was really nothing, to tell you the truth. And then they came in and destroyed Nakamura and Boobs, or whatever his name is. What is his name?
Rick Boogs.
I looked for my closed captioning. I said, what is his name? Boogs. But
Exactly.
they may have done the right finish in it and then left them laying. So, again, we'll see. But I did like that.
It sets things in motion for next week, Intercontinental Championship match with Nakamura and Cruz. Next, it was supposed to be Happy Corbin versus Kevin Owens. We got a recap of what happened between the two guys 2 weeks ago on the KO show with Logan Paul. We got an interview from Kevin Owens saying that he's upset that he ever let his guard down and didn't trust his instincts with Happy Corbin. And Kevin Owens came down, but Corbin attacked him from behind, laid him out with a choke slam on the apron. What do you think about this continuation of the feud with Corbin and Owens?
Okay, I've been reading that maybe Kevin Owens is finishing up. Have
Yes,
you been reading that?
His contract, it was Fightful Select that reported, I think it was last week, that Kevin Owens' contract is up in January of 2022. Kevin Owens then played into that speculation by putting the coordinates to Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was the name of his stable in PWG with Adam Cole and the Young Bucks. And then he put his Twitter bio location to Almost There, while the Young Bucks put their Twitter bio location to There. So he is really playing up, and Fightful did a later report saying that, and John Alba reported that that Kevin Owens, there are people in WWE that believe Kevin Owens is on his way out.
Well, regardless of whether he's on his way out or not, I would think the WWE would say something about that tweet that he put out if he was going, if they didn't think they could retain him. But that's advertising another company.
It is.
And at this point, he's still working for WWE. And that would be their point of view. So, but they may have told him to put it out because we're going to renew you. And who knows? But it makes people think. So, I don't know. But I liked Happy Corbin. I like that. Because we put him over. Remember, Sid? Remember
we have.
And old Rick, who's not here, by the way, that because he has to work. Yeah, right. Like he has an actual job, like he's working in a radio station or something. But he doesn't like Corbin. Well, I didn't like him either. Remember
I said one time, like him.
Yeah, I said take him up in a plane at 34,000 feet and give him a push out the door. And so he'll crash and burn. But I like this Corbin character more because when you see him, you like to dislike him, but he's really turning babyface. But if they'll stretch that out, he'll be a good talent for them and a good character to have on the card. Because I think if the kids like him, and I think the kids are starting to like him a little bit now, he'll sell those gimmicks.
He will for sure. And the Happy Corbin gimmick, I feel like because they've told the whole story from the rags to riches, it works a lot. Next up, we had a promo segment with Seth Rollins recapping what he did to Edge. I thought that this was Seth Rollins at the top of his game with another really good promo towards Edge. He showed highlights of what happened last week and saying that he was responsible for taking out Edge and laying him out, and he injured Edge because the fans cheered and laughed when he got the black goo poured on him. They laughed when he got called Edge Light. They cheered when Edge beat him at SummerSlam. So it's all their fault and all Edge's fault, and he's the reason why he had to take out Edge. And he says that Edge needs to come from his cabin and face him one more time because he wants to end Edge's career. So what did you think about this promo here from Seth Rollins, who showed a lot of passion even though he looked like he was wrapped in aluminum foil?
Yeah, well, I liked his outfit. I did like that. But I thought it was a great interview.
Yes,
because he blamed the fans. It's not like I actually did this on my own. You're the ones that made me do it. Because always remember, every great heel is a victim of something. If you blame everybody else, then you don't have to take ownership of anything. Yeah. Just blame everybody else. And you did it, and you made me do it, and you made me do it. And I think it was a great interview. It got the point. So, and all he's doing is just maintenance on the Edge angle till Edge comes back. So, how long do you think Edge will be gone?
I'm thinking because of how he had this promo here, I would think that Edge comes back for the Saudi Arabia show.
And when is that?
That's next month. That's
Okay.
October 21st.
That'd be a good show for him to come back on.
Yeah.
I
Big
hope they
money.
don't
He'll
do
make a
any.
lot of money.
I hope they don't do any shenanigans on like that WWF bunch did back in the 90s or in 2003.
That's the whole thing that there was some people like my good friend Chrissy Love on True Hill. She thought the plane ride from hell was the one in Saudi Arabia. That's like plane ride from hell too.
Oh, they've been more than that. I kind of give you the rundown on the other one, but they've been more than that. Crazy.
In the back, we had Kayla Braxton interview Becky Lynch saying that she's never been to a homecoming, so she was going to crash at Bianca Belair's at the end of the show. Then it's been 2 weeks, Dutch, and we finally had a women's match after 2 weeks after Zelina Vega getting scrapped in Madison Square Garden on the 20-year anniversary of 9/11, where her father passed away. She finally got to be on the show, and this was not good at all. This was 2 minutes long. They barely got in the match. Liv Morgan pushes Carmella into the turnbuckle and supposedly breaks her nose, and they win. Toni Storm and Liv Morgan defeat Carmella and Zelina Vega by countout. After the match, Liv Morgan challenges Carmella to a match at Extreme Rules. For why, I have no idea, because she's beaten her so many times. I'm happy the women get another match at Extreme Rules. Don't get me wrong, but this made no sense whatsoever. No sense. And it's like, man, you kind of feel like they were better off 2 weeks ago when they released on the show without the stupid booking like this.
Wasn't this the first time we have seen Toni Storm?
This is her second match in 2 months.
And when was the other match? Was it on Raw?
No, her first match was the match against Zelina Vega, the first week when she debuted.
Okay.
She hasn't wrestled since until tonight.
They didn't do her any favors tonight because she didn't even do the spot to injure Carmella's nose. Then they go to the back. Remember, fans, whenever you do something, you got to have continuity to it. You go to the back. She's saying, "I got my nose broken." Why didn't she have tape over it or something? It was nothing. Her nose.
She just let it go. She was like, "Oh, I'm not hurt anymore," and then said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take the challenge at Extreme Rules." And Zelina Vega says that Liv Morgan has to go through her first, so we're gonna have Liv versus Zelina next week on SmackDown.
I didn't get that at all. There was two things on his show I didn't get. It was the opening. Then they come back and they're in a tag for what God knows what reason. And then Carmella screaming, "I broke my nose, and then she goes to the back and there's nothing. So there's 2 points there that they didn't even try to connect. So I can't explain it, fans. It is what it is. Don't overthink it.
Very, very weird. We had 2 other promos before we get to the final segment. We had the Street Profits are excited to be in Knoxville, and they addressed Bianca Belair's homecoming and the after party. They said they weren't happy about the Usos jumping Big E earlier, but promised to win the tag team titles at Extreme Rules. We also had the Saga of the Demon, with Finn Balor telling the story behind the Demon character and why he's gonna come back and verse Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. And then suddenly we had a little editing magic with him turning into the Demon. What did you think about both of these promos here?
I like the Street Profits interview anyway. Yeah. I like Montez Ford, good talker. Yes. Where is he from? Is he from Knoxville too, or no?
No, I believe I'm not sure where he's from, but I believe they met each other in the WWE, so he's not from Knoxville.
Okay, well, good interview. And Dawson, good interview. I mean, a lot of energy. They get their point across. I think people like them because they see these guys go out there and they work hard and they don't seem to be over anybody else. And again, the fans set the marketplace. And it seems like the fans like these guys because they love Bianca Belair, and I like that interview. And what followed that one?
What followed the Street Profits was first it was that segment with the Carmella in the back with her non-broken nose, and then it was the saga of the Demon.
Yeah, and the Demon, I kind of like that because I'm not familiar with the Demon, but the people that are, it really worked for them.
Yeah,
but I'm not really. I'd heard about it, but I was with another company, so I can't follow everybody. So, but it was a good segment. Nothing really stood out tonight bad because I've been saying I think SmackDown's really much better than Raw because I think one reason is it's shorter.
that's
and
true.
Raw's a whole hour more, and that fell on that other hour to keep people interested.
It's tough.
It is tough. It's hard. It's hard. So when they get those ratings back, Vince looks at them, what the hell? Why? But he shouldn't be saying, why is this dropping? Because, well, look at your show.
It's your show.
Yeah, nobody is holding them.
I forgot.
I think that's one reason AEW kind of hoes their audience is because it doesn't go all night.
Yeah.
You start it with an hour and you say, well, I'll watch it. It's over at 11 o'clock. I can do that. But if it was over at 12, like I'm afraid next week, people are going to kind of start. But the show is so stacked, I don't think you're going to have AEW fans leaving. I think you may have the casual fans leaving, but I think you AEW fans are going to stay for the duration.
They are very invested for sure, and we'll see how it is in New York. I'll be the on-site correspondent, and I'll let you know next week how it was for Rampage taping there. Ozzy says this Dutch's bedtime. Rick the Silver Surfer Man. We have just 3 more segments to just go over very briefly. Naomi approached Sonya Deville and demanded a match. Sonya said that there isn't any time left tonight, and Naomi didn't take no for an answer this time, and she doesn't know what Deville's problem is with her. She pointed out that she's accomplished more than Sonya Deville, got in her face, and she promised to get her match. And then later we had Michael Cole say that management had fined Naomi for insubordination for her confrontation with Sonya Deville.
That's quick. Wasn't it quick?
Yeah.
They should announce that next week.
Indeed.
I mean,
I agree.
What do have somebody just sitting there and said, oh, well, we'll just fine her for that. That didn't make any sense. That was another thing. I said 2 things, but it's 3 things. WWE fining Naomi for insubordination after all the other stuff they do.
This happens like every week, it seems.
No kidding. So, hey, let me tell you, I watched Pat McAfee, his football highlights.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a football player.
He's one of the greatest punters, honestly. Yeah,
but
people don't give him credit.
But he wasn't afraid to hit them either.
No.
Because when they would run his punch back, he'd stay in the back, and he might be the last line of defense, but he'd lower that head and he'd go into him. So he impressed me. So he's a great athlete. Plus, he showed his personality on the field, too. He'd do I think it was a Vince McMahon strut.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing. Was that what he was doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty easy to pick out.
He was trying to get his job early.
A great football player. But the thing with Naomi and Sonya Deville, I liked how they ended it. They were just looking at each other, and I think she looked down at Sonya's whatever she had, I guess, and she walked off. But they left that kind of warmed up.
Yeah, I liked it.
They can go any place with it now.
They've done a lot with a short amount of time with that feud, and I'm interested in it for sure. One thing I'm not interested in is Dominic Mysterio versus Sami Zayn for the 3rd time in 4 weeks. Once again, Sami Zayn got the victory here, rolling up Dominic after he got his knees up for a frog splash. Once again, Rey Mysterio did not listen to his son and came down the ringside for the matchup. And after the match, Zayn told Rey that Dominic wasn't on his level, so it seemed to tease that we were going to get a Zayn versus Rey Mysterio match. So what did you think about what was the main event matchup of the evening before the main event segment?
Well, I think they're almost taking the Mysterio angle, and they're actually going a little bit too long with it, because you can tell they're going to do something with it. But when you're going to pull the trigger, I mean, it could be hot. It could, and it could backfire. But I think
Yeah.
they need to cut bait or leave. You know what I mean? There's no Southern saying that, I can't remember. Either fish or cut bait, or whatever it means. Make up your mind. So I think they're taking the long way to get there, which they could take in a shorter way, but they may not need it. So, and I've kind of lost interest in it now.
I have to. They need to do something to kind of heat up that whole story, but repeating the same matchup is not the way to do it. And then finally, Dutch, we had the Bianca Belair homecoming in Knoxville, Tennessee. Kane, the Mayor Kane, came out and was the master of ceremony here. He got to do his fire thing. I completely forgot that Kane became a Hall of Famer this year, because I was like, when they called him WWE Hall of Famer, I was like, when did he become a Hall of Famer? Like, I completely forgot. I apologize for that, but this was a good segment. But the ending, I feel, was just a very big disappointment in my opinion.
I didn't like the ending either.
The fans loved Bianca Belair here. She got a huge reaction. Her parents and friends were in the front row going crazy for her. She sang the Tennessee song for the fans. The fans erupted in an EST chant. They showed her family a lot. She talked about being, down and Becky getting the better of her at SummerSlam, but she's going to win her title back at Extreme Rules. Kane told Belair to come back to Knoxville after she becomes champion, and they'll celebrate. And then he presented her with a ring to the city. Belair said that she was
a key.
Oh, excuse me. A key to the city.
The key was like 10 foot long.
Yeah, it was huge. I don't think the keys are usually that big, but yeah. They had to have but I thought that that was given away, that they were going to use it as like an attack, or she was going to use it on somebody, but we didn't even get that payoff. Becky Lynch came out, and after Bianca Belair sang Racky Top with the fans, Becky came out. She mocked Belair and noted that she doesn't have a key to the city, but she has the SmackDown Women's Championship. Lynch doesn't want to steal Belair's spotlight and wants a handshake. Belair hesitated and then shook Lynch's hand, but she wouldn't let go. She looks for the KOD, but Lynch slips out and hits the manhandle slam to thunderous boos, and she walks out as Belair recovers in the ring. And I was just like, why does WWE never let the hometown hero stand tall? Like, this was the week to do it.
That was the flattest way they could have ended the show. Wouldn't you end the show with Bianca doing something to...
I would think, we lost Dutch, but I would think, you would end with Bianca Belair standing tall, or at least using the key on Becky Lynch or hitting the KOD on her. But no, we didn't get any of that. It was just a weird finish and a flat finish for what was really a flat show, in my opinion. Dutch, what was your thoughts on that ending there?
Oh, I was just saying before I got cut out. I don't know why. Flat ending, flat finish. Leave with Belair as the conquering hero. You may make the people in Knoxville mad, but you're not worried about that. You're worried about the people. I don't think it made the people at home upset. I think most of them got upset that she got left laying.
Yeah.
But that doesn't translate into heat for Becky Lynch. That translates into heat for whoever gave the finish out. And you're thinking, and like you said, why is it such a big deal for WWE to put over their heroes from certain towns? AEW does it, and they're rewarded for it. They didn't beat Pillman in Cincinnati. They didn't beat Moxley in Cincinnati. They didn't. But most of the time, they'll do that. But this is I think they'll survive it. But I'm just saying, I don't think that's that's what you want to do. I wouldn't do that. I would see, she held the hand. Bianca held the hand. And then when she come back, then she should have put her through that table or done something to her. And Becky rolled out pointing her finger. You don't got to kill her.
Yeah.
But, so now you're thinking that the next match they have, that Bianca is going to come out on top. See, I don't understand that reasoning. I really don't.
It was just a very weird ending to the show, and what I thought, there was good parts to the show, but I thought that was just a flat ending for what felt like a flat follow-up to what they did last week. Last week was one of their best shows of the year, and this just didn't live up to that, in my opinion.
No, it didn't. And to me, it was a good show, even though, you're going to have flaws here and there, and I can overlook that. Wrestling fans have to overlook it, or they can't be a wrestling fan.
No.
And like you say, there's no rhyme or reason to some things, and there was no rhyme or reason to this ending. If I'd have booked the show, and I think most of the fans, if they booked the show, let's leave Bianca as the conquering queen. It's her town. It's her homecoming. But now you're going to beat her up at her own homecoming? I don't know. It's weird. Just crazy stuff. I don't know. If Vince okayed that, there's a problem.
There's a lot of problems with WWE at the moment, Dutch. But that brings us to a close on a jam-packed edition of Smack Talk. We talked about Dark Side of the Ring. We talked about SmackDown. We talked about AEW Rampage. Dutch, please let the people know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Well, I'm working on everything, but if you just want to write me an email, Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's @gmail.com. I usually answer all my email. I might just write you back and say, what's up or something, but I usually write back because, like I said, I have diarrhea of the keyboard. I'm writing my next book. I haven't come up with a title for it yet, but I will. And I think with what happened this weekend and what we've heard about Flair and what we've heard about Dreamer, I think that would make an interesting chapter in that book. Some of those things that I've seen. It's not that I'm making them up. I've actually seen these things. But stay tuned. If you got a name for me, email me and give me a name for the book. What would you name the book, Sid?
Stories by Dutch. I got to think about it. Give me a week. I'll have a better name next week.
I'll give you a week. Okay.
Well, you can check me out at True Heel SP3. You can see me on my weekly Saturday podcast tomorrow morning, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time.
When am I doing that show?
Your Dutch is going to be on True Hill Heat on October 2nd in 2 weeks' time. Dutch Mantell joins the True Hill Heat gang.
For the first time.
For the first time, we're going to be talking about that's going to be the fallout from what happened at Extreme Rules and a whole bunch of big stuff. But this week, we got Justin Clapper of Wrestling Travel. So join us on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel tomorrow. And of course, check out everything on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, Inside Cradle, all the latest interviews, all the review show, Vince Russo with Legion of Raw, the debrief with Jose talking about AEW Dynamite and NXT, and right back here next Friday with Smack Talk as we talk about 4 hours of professional wrestling with SmackDown and AEW Rampage.
I'll probably be drunk next week, so show should be great.
So join me, Dutch, and Rick next Friday for Smack Talk. This has been Smack Talk for September 17th, 2021, which is now September 17th, 2021. For Dutch, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you next week on Smack.